We are just west of Alva, Oklahoma in Woods County, and joining us today is Greg Hifill, who is the OSU County Extension Educator for Woods County. Greg, what brings us out here is we wanted to kind of look at the ecology and the horticulture, and unfortunately northwestern Oklahoma has experienced a lot of wildfires. Can you tell us a little bit about the history out here with that?
Well, we've had an interesting 4 years, beginning back in 2015. When we had a wildfire in the northern part of Woodward County that burned a significant number of acres, maybe 20 to 30,000. That wasn't as big as some of the recent fires, but certainly a significant event. We got it stopped before it got to the Cimarron River, which is Woods County, of course, but certainly a challenge back in 2015. Then in 2016, of course, was the Anderson Creek fire. Started just down the road here where the Anderson Creek Bridge is, right on the highway, and burned a significant part of Woods County and, of course, on into Kansas. We spent a number of weeks fighting wildfire, working with donors that sent us hay, and helping producers replace miles and miles of fence. And then in 2017, of course, was the fire out west in Beaver and Harper counties, and of course that did the significant damage up in Kansas, and just significant all around.
Yeah.
And then certainly here in 2018, Dewey County, Woodward County, those were huge fires as well. And all the extension educators in this part of the state have been part of supplying hay donation relief, manning those phones,
Right.
and doing that as a part of our efforts to help producers. And so it's been a busy 4 years here.
Right.
From an agriculture standpoint, certainly the difference between a wildfire and a prescribed burn is huge. Wildfires tend to be on 50-mile-an-hour wind days and not 20-mile-an-hour wind days, and that just creates such a heat that those are so significant. And to talk about that would talk about the losing fences.
Right.
These unplanned fires where we don't have fire breaks and aren't in control like we are in a prescribed burn. They're just so destructive, and so we've replaced miles and miles of fence, different structures, replaced hay, and all those types of things. Now, that being said,
Right.
certainly the effect on the landscape is much the same as a prescribed burn as far as decreasing the cedar trees that we have here and being able to cut them, stealing the water, and increase grass production. These areas have responded wonderfully. Certainly we would have wanted a little more rain back in 17, right after that the Anderson Creek fire, but we're recovering nicely, and these pastures are doing a great job, and again, in their recovery efforts.
Yeah, I mean, looking behind us, we see a lot of eastern red cedar skeletons, if you will.
Yes.
And obviously, this pasture was kind of getting a little out of control with the cedar trees, but now it's transformed back to pasture and grassland.
Certainly more productive, and again, yes, is responding nicely. We did pick an area here that was heavier in trees, but even the normal pastures that are managed for cedars a little more intensely, certainly it took care of a lot of those cedar problems. And prescribed burn people have a saying: any dead cedar tree is a good fire. So we're out to get them, and they're just encroaching and such a menace on our landscape. It's a real challenge to keep them under control.
Because not only are they shading out plants, but they're also stealing the water from those plants,
Oh,
the
sure.
grasses that we would like to have.
I think they estimate 300 gallons a year that they're stealing water out from under all these plants that obviously wouldn't be here if they hadn't have lost the cedar competition. So just a great resource and a tool. Land that we see that is managed under prescribed burning tends to respond a little better to a burn than a wildfire because of the thatch, because of the different, because of the way a wildfire goes through. But that being said, it's still a positive.
Right, right. With a wildfire, you don't necessarily know when that pasture has been burned last.
Sure.
There might be more fuel to it.
Sure.
Prescribed land typically is burned more frequently. So
absolutely. As you look across this landscape that's covered with cedars, 5 years ago would have had half the grazing potential as it does today, and just because of of the sheer volume of it. And so,
And how many years has it been since this burned? What was the year?
this would have been 2016, so this would be the second spring, yes.
Well, Greg, I know we often hear about the wildfires when they're happening, but it's nice to take a look back and see the good that comes out of the devastation. Thank you for sharing with us.
Great to be here.
We hope you enjoyed this video. It's part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.